Hi, I'm Karen.
Hi, I'm Tom.
And this is our gym, Body Development in Bath.
Hi, so I'm Tom, I'm the head coach at Body Development. I've been coaching in some form or another for about 33 years now. Originally I started way back with Thai boxing, which I was coaching pretty much from when I left school, as well as coaching some weight training. Now, I've been very fortunate in my career to have some great mentors. So when I left school, I was studying with Roy Duval, who was a former bodybuilder, and he taught me a lot about weight training, about physical culture generally, and it really helped open my eyes to different training methods, many of which have they're not used so much these days. I then went on and studied with various different people within the industry, including some work with the Czech Institute. And then I found Charles Poliquin in the late 90s and was an avid reader of all of his literature. So Charles's certification program really was of interest to me because to be qualified in it, you had to get results. So I got the national certificate. That was for training athletes to national level. And then I went on to international standard. Now, unfortunately, he died before I finished off my level 5. I didn't see the point in carrying on and doing that, even though I was actually pre-qualified for it by training people to world champion and Olympic level. However, because you had to actually do the work and show that you could actually, produce these athletes, that's what really meant something to me. With my background in martial arts, I was lucky enough to be tutored by Steve Morris, who had a reputation as being an extremely tough individual to train with. He taught me not only a lot about Goju-Ryu karate, which he kind of renounced, but he really created an interest in Chinese martial arts. At the time, I already had a black belt in Wing Chun Kung Fu, but I started looking at how these things had originated. And Steve guided me to look down multiple avenues with this. Previous to training with him, I'd just come back from training out in LA with Danny Inosanto's group of guys. Met some very interesting people out there, including people like Chaz Stahelski, who's now behind the John Wick films. But it wasn't for me, okay? So I wanted something a little bit different. Steve Morris definitely fitted the bill for me, and I was coaching Thai boxing and MMA as it was burgeoning in this country at that time. I've gone on and I've assisted people train up to UFC. We have Brad Scott here. And in professional boxing, we've worked with British and European champions and junior world champions and really helped them in their career. Currently, I work with a few amateur guys who are just up and coming, the 16-year-olds, and including the current number 2 at 63 kilos in the country. So, as well as Roy Duval, Charles Poliquin, and various other mentors like Milos Sarcev, who we learned a lot from, and of course Steve Morris is a martial arts coach. I was also extremely lucky to find Amir Esmaili, who was a former Palavan, so a wrestling champion from Iran, and he taught me a huge amount of traditional exercises and training methods, which I still use daily. He also taught me how to use the clubs, and these are essentially a copy of his personal clubs, okay? And we use those daily. We've been coaching people in clubs for a long time here now. And Amir unfortunately died nearly 20 years ago. We still miss him every day. and we have his pictures up in the gym. And it's very important for me that we keep his sort of traditions and his training methods alive within our own practices. That's why they're interblended into a lot of what we do at BD, which creates a very unique training environment. So part of the coaching that I do day to day is martial arts based. Now, for the last 30 years, I've also trained with Neil Genge, who was Britain's first Shaolin disciple. And Neil's taught me not only a lot of Shaolin practices, but he's trained extensively in China, in both Chen Village and Wudang. And we practice Tai Chi a lot and Qigong a lot. And I've been coaching it on the quiet for a few years, but I practice it daily, so it becomes part of my own training on a day-to-day. I find Qigong and Tai Chi practice hugely beneficial, not as a fighter, but just to move my body and feel a much better connection, which is something a lot of people are looking for these days. Can it be used to help body composition? Yes, in fact, I've helped a lot of people change their body composition by just doing Tai Chi and Qigong. Can it help you with your posture? Yes. Is it an effective fighting art? No. Okay, for the most part, no. You'd be better off doing something else. Not really where it's at. The way it's practiced over here is slightly different if you learn it back in China, because it's part of a number of things you learn together. Okay, so that's me being honest about that. But within the martial arts side of things, we have our punch-out classes, which are boxing based. Remember, I've coached up to British and European level. Okay. And we also do private work in things like Tai Chi, Qigong, various Wushu weapons. And then we have the background in Thai boxing, which again, we put on shows back in the 90s. We did a lot of work with K-Star up in Birmingham, and we were on sort of the national circuits here. I also had 3 of my fighters go out and fight in Thailand. Which again, back then, not many clubs were doing that. It's much more common these days. Okay, so we have a lot of pedigree in martial arts at this gym.